In this video, we're talking all things LA Knight and why he should hold a WWE Championship or at least get a major push. Let's tap into it. Simply put, LA Knight is the most over WWE superstar at this present time. And in this video, we're going to be talking all things LA Knight and why he should win a WWE Championship in 2023. Now, LA Knight, like I said, the most over WWE superstar at this present moment. There's no one getting the reactions that LA Knight gets. Cody Rhodes with his woe and all that goes into the Cody Rhodes presentation. Rhea Ripley, I mean, there's so many people within WWE that get these loud reactions. Dominic Mysterio getting a huge, obviously, boos, but getting a great reaction. But no one is getting the reaction that LA Knight gets, period. In the month of June, he was within the top 5 best merch sellers in WWE for the month of June. Number 1, obviously, Roman Reigns. Number 2, Cody Rhodes. Number 3, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Number 4, LA Knight. And number 5 being the NWO. Now, LA Knight being in the same conversation as Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes, Stone Cold Steve Austin, NWO. I mean, that's not a position that many would see him in. And you have to think also, his new merch just came out the day before Money in the Bank, which was the last day of June, because Money in the Bank was July 1st. So, in one day, he was in the top 5 merch sellers of the entire month. That is impressive. And there are people coming out, past Superstars fans coming out and just discrediting him and not giving him the praise that he deserves. Kevin Nash, for one, a brilliant mind in the wrestling world. All respect to Kevin Nash, WWE Hall of Famer. Today being 27 years to the date that Hulk Hogan turned heel, joined Scott Hall and Kevin Nash to create the NWO. So a too sweet to Kevin Nash and the NWO. But the point that I'm making here is Kevin Nash said in his podcast recently, on his podcast, that LA Knight is simply put a ripoff of The Rock. Now, that's a bad way to put it. That has a negative connotation, being he's a ripoff or he's copying whatever. Kevin Nash is has one of the most brilliant minds ever in professional wrestling. Great wrestling mind, great business mind. It's no news that WWE superstar wrestlers in general, past, present, and future, all take inspiration, take influence from past people who, like I said, they were inspired by, they were influenced by, people from their childhood that make them remember, that made them feel things. People like The Rock, people like Stone Cold, people like John Cena. You have to look back all of these years. Before there was the Nature Boy Ric Flair, woo! There was the Nature Boy Buddy Rogers. Ric Flair emulated Buddy Rogers. Before there was, say your vitamins and eat your players, brother. Like, that's obviously a horrible. That was a ripoff. That was a ripoff imitation of Hulk Hogan. But before there was Hulk Hogan and the Hulkamaniacs and Hulkamania, there was superstar Billy Graham. Long, blonde hair. Blonde goatee. Red and yellow. Before there was Shawn Michaels, there was somebody. Dolph Ziggler emulates Shawn Michaels. He uses the super kick. Sweet chin music. Sasha Banks credits a lot of her career and a lot of the things that she does, even gear that were inspired by Eddie Guerrero. Dominic Mysterio making a huge name for himself in WWE, playing off an Eddie Guerrero storyline from 2005. Granted, he was involved in that when he was a child, but still, using that storyline to benefit his career today. Would you say that's a cheap ripoff? That's a ripoff? No. These are all things that were influenced. People were inspired by these things. To say that LA Knight is a ripoff of The Rock is one of the greatest, most electrifying superstars of all time. How can you not take inspiration? How can you not take influence? How can you not take something from Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson? He was electrifying. He was athletic in the ring. He was great on the mic. He was just, simply put, the people's champion. Not to give LA Knight that moniker, but he is quickly becoming the people's champion. This is a guy that was, and you have to look back at LA Knight's career. I mean, he is in his early 40s at this point. So to see where he's come from to now, give this man his praise. Clap for this man. Let him have the moment that he's getting. Let him have a breakout moment. Give him his dues because he's paid him. LA Knight has been everywhere. And to add, he's been a champion everywhere he's been. Maybe not the world heavyweight champion, but he's been a champion holding gold. Whether that was Impact Wrestling, whether that was the NWA, Eli Drake, LA Knight, whatever you want to call him, he knows how to get the crowd going. He knows what he's doing in the ring. Haven't seen him have a bad match. He was a good guy in NXT. He was a bad guy in NXT. He was, at one point, who everybody wanted to see become the next NXT champion. He and Cameron Grimes in NXT revived the $1 Million Championship. The $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, put him over. The $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, gave LA Knight the rub. LA Knight is doing things right now that no one else is doing. He's a heel, making the crowd love him simply by speaking to them. And it's been a long, long time, to be honest with you. I would say since 2013-14. I would say the last person to have this sort of love, this sort of reaction from the crowd, the last person to get that, I would say, is Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan was not a guy who was supposed to be the world heavyweight champion. That's not a guy. Daniel Bryan was not a guy who was supposed to be the main event of WrestleMania, let alone a main event. And he got his moment and continued to build. LA Knight deserves to have his time in the sun. He's put in the time. This is a guy, like I said, in his 40s who is moving like he's 25. He's speaking as if he has a Hollywood background, which in most cases, he's been in commercials. We've seen him on TV shows. He does have a Hollywood background. But LA Knight is making people react. He's making people feel. He's making people buy. He was the leading favorite going into Money in the Bank and didn't win. I, for one, was pissed off. I know a lot of fans were pissed off. Triple H saying in the post-show of Money in the Bank that LA Knight, well, he mentioned LA Knight and then he made a sly comment with a smirk saying, good things come to those who wait. My immediate reaction, my immediate thought was, maybe LA Knight's winning the 2024 Royal Rumble. Maybe he starts a feud with Damian Priest and Priest puts the contract on the Money in the Bank contract on the line and then LA Knight wins it. We've seen it happen before. Mr. Kennedy won Money in the Bank at one point in his career. Put it on the line against Edge. And Edge won it. We saw Otis put his Money in the Bank contract on the line against The Miz. And The Miz won it. Maybe we see that happen with Damian Priest and LA Knight. Or maybe LA Knight gets a huge moment at SummerSlam. So that's where we're going to go now. We're going to start talking about SummerSlam, what's going on with LA Knight. If you haven't already, please subscribe down below. Follow more to get more content right here on the Angle Podcast. All good wrestling content, wrestling interviews, wrestling shorts, wrestling news, anything that you would want to hear or see regarding pro wrestling, regarding WWE, this is the place. You get entertainment, you get news, you get interviews, you get everything you want being a pro wrestling fan. So please, if you haven't already, subscribe down below to the Angle Podcast, and you can also follow on all social media platforms at the Angle Radio and at the Angle Podcast. So like I said, we're talking about LA Knight and now going on to SummerSlam, where he's rumored to have a strong position on the card, possibly in a match against Logan Paul, which I don't think is likely because Logan Paul just started a new feud with Ricochet going into SummerSlam. The other option, the other idea being pitched is LA Knight dethroning the current United States champion on Friday Night SmackDown, Austin Theory, who just passed I think it was like 300 days or some number, becoming the longest reigning United States champion in the last 10 years. Actually, the last 10 years since Dean Ambrose had the record. Austin Theory is doing absolutely nothing. He was doing way more and way better before the United States Championship. The last thing he did that was noteworthy was defeating John Cena at WrestleMania. And that was not really a feud to me, to be honest. And he hasn't done anything since. So I think it's time to take off that title from Austin Theory. And what other person to put it on than the megastar LA Knight, and let him have his moment at SummerSlam. He's the hottest thing going in WWE. SummerSlam is the hottest party of the summer. It just makes sense to let LA Knight have his moment at SummerSlam. Now, for all of you watching and viewing this video, please comment down below if you believe that LA Knight should have his time in the sun, if you believe that LA Knight should win a WWE Championship. Or maybe just comment who you think he should face at SummerSlam on August 5th in Detroit. LA Knight, like I've been saying this entire time, is doing something that no one else in WWE is doing. He's getting reactions. He's making people feel things. He's making them tune in. He's selling merchandise. Number 4 out of the top 5 for the month of June. This is old school. LA Knight is old school. And he is not ripping off anybody. He's taking inspiration. He's being influenced by past superstars, some who have done the best in the business and some who he's just loved being a wrestling fan. And he's making it his own. And he's succeeding. And I think that people have this idea of what a WWE superstar should be, what they should look like. And maybe that's not what you think LA Knight is. Maybe you don't think LA Knight looks the part. Maybe you don't like his name. It doesn't sound like a LA Knight, your world heavyweight champion or undisputed universal WWE champion, United States champion, intercontinental champion, whatever you want to call him. LA Knight is money. And you can print that on anything. LA Knight should be a WWE champion in 2023. And the idea that Triple H said, good things come to those who wait, well, guess what? When you wait too long, that fire goes out. That flame turns to ashes and turns to smoke. So why not strike when he's hot, and he's the hottest he's ever been? LA Knight should win a WWE Championship in 2023. LA Knight should be a main event player because he's the megastar. Simply put, LA Knight is over, and LA Knight deserves to be, well, where he's headed in WWE. And before you go, please subscribe to binge more content right here on the Angle Podcast. Thanks for watching.